To say she grew up in a dysfunctional home would be a great understatement. Carol Kornacki's early life was filled with violence, alcohol, fear, disease, drug abuse, and abortion, all of which led her to search for security in witchcraft and New Age, and sell her soul to the devil, which hints at the title of her riveting life story, A Soul for Sale. Carol Kornacki, welcome back to Full Circle.
Good to be back, girls. Really nice.
We are so good to have you. So glad to have you back.
Congratulations. What a beautiful wedding.
Thank you.
You look way too, I was sitting there telling my assistant, you look too young to be a mother
well,
in
thank
love.
you so much. Yeah, it takes an army, but we get there. And we are so glad you have gotten here, my dear,
Thank
because
you very
the
much.
name of your book, A Soul for Sale, is very intriguing. And I have to ask you, what made you so desperate that you actually sold your soul to the devil?
You know, Ann, I was going to church in a little church when I was about 7 years old. And while I was attending church, I was not really learning about Jesus Christ. I really wasn't. I was learning about religion, and it was no one's fault. In the meantime, at home, there's alcoholism. I'm being sexually abused, not by my family, by a family friend. There's violence. There's blood on the walls from fighting. The children were hungry. We were eating out of garbage cans, breaking into, at 7 years old, I was breaking in people's homes to get food. My dad was mentally ill. He was starting the house on fire, trying to choke my mother at night. Walking around saying that I wasn't his child, I was someone else, calling me dirty names. So in the midst of this, I would go to this church and sit on this little pew and look up at this big plaster depiction of Jesus on a cross and say, if you're God and you see everything, where are you when I'm eating out of a garbage can? If you're God and you know my pain, then where are you when that man is molesting me? If you're God and you feel what I'm going through, why won't you teach my mother to love me? She abuses me, she slaps me, she leaves black and blue marks on my body. Why don't you do something? So one particular day, I think I was 9 years old, I was sitting on the church pew, and it wasn't the church's fault. I didn't know. And I looked up and I picked up my fist. I was a kid, and I said, my soul is for sale. You're not a savior. You're my soul, and it's going to the highest bidder. From now on, I'll do whatever it takes to survive in this world, and you will not interfere. And from that moment when I left the church, that change began in me. No more God. There is no God. He doesn't love me. He doesn't stop the pain or the starvation or the abuse or the insanity. He doesn't care. So I'm going to go look for my God. And from that time on, I began to become very promiscuous, because sexually abused people sometimes will become promiscuous. And I began that, and then I got out of the house through pregnancy. And I had a baby. I was a teenager, and I had a child.
Your mom kicked you out, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. She bodily removed me, actually.
Oh,
she
wow.
lifted me up when I came in. I said, you can't hit me anymore, because I had black and blue marks. You can't hurt me anymore. I'm having a baby. So she picked me up, and she said herself, I bodily removed her from the house. So now I'm pregnant. I'm a kid. I hate everyone. I hate my mother. I despise my dad. He's in and out of mental institutions. I have the baby, and within 4 or 5 months, I'm living in an apartment trying to raise this child. And it's amazing. When you are never loved, you don't know how to love. You can't love when you don't know how. So I didn't know how to love the little girl. I'd raised all my brothers and sisters. There's 11 in the family, but I'd never known how to love. So I'd change her, and I'd look at her, and I'd say, I don't know how I feel about you. I want to take care of you. So now I become pregnant again. And I thought, what am I going to do? So I had an illegal abortion, very dramatic. And it's all in the book. People got to get the book and read it. After that, I began to drink. One moment of your life, you have life inside you, a child growing. And within 15 or 20 minutes, that life is gone, and you're an empty tomb. Suddenly, something happens inside you. So I began to drink, take drugs, try to medicate the pain of my home life, the sexual abuse.
And Marilyn was taken away.
Yeah, the state of New York removed her.
Took Marilyn, and then you got pregnant. And was this with the affair, or was this from the boyfriend? I'm like,
was this from the affair?
I'm sorry.
Who was
I look
it
at
this
you
time?
like, Louis or the affair?
The second time I got pregnant, after I was with Marilyn, It was with
With
Louis
Luke.
again.
Louis.
Louis was the one who, look, you read that book,
I
didn't
sure
you?
did.
They
Cover
say
to
you
cover.
can't put it down. And what's interesting, there are 15-year-olds in schools. Our book is going through schools. Teachers are taking it home. They said they can't put the book down. So it's really touching lives, and that's why I
You
wrote
are
it.
very transparent in this book. You share all of the details of your bad choices and the consequences. Of
Absolutely,
those
and there
choices.
are consequences, and that is the trick in life. Choices, you make choices.
And
So-
as raw as we're already gleaning, for those just tuning in and maybe meeting you for the first time, the sad reality is for way too many of our teenage kids, these real things are not foreign to them.
No, they're not.
No.
This is
Some
not.
of
I don't
these
think
are
anyone's
not.
surprised. To be honest with you, do you watch TV? I mean, look at what you're seeing. Commercials will turn your face red. I mean, the freedom of the openness of conversations, people involved, young people involved, kids getting pregnant. So I don't think anybody's really too shocked. I mean, it's the 21st century, and I think it's really important to me, and this is why I wrote the book, Ann, to sit down and say, listen, it doesn't matter if you live in a big house. It doesn't matter if you work at the bank. It doesn't matter if you go to church on Sunday. In every home, there are things that go on, and this is the way society is today. So I got pregnant 3 times and had 3 abortions. One, I tried to kill myself because I didn't want to tell my mother. Another was illegal. I began to have affairs, always looking for love. And today, there's a sexual revolution as there was in the 70s. The young kids, aren't they getting pregnant at what, 12?
Yeah.
Come on, let's be open. They are, they really are. And so the idea was when you're looking for love, you'll give yourself away. You want somebody to hold you, even if it's for 15 minutes. Someone to love you, someone to make you feel like you're wanted, because at home I wasn't. So now the state of New York has removed Maryland. I am 3 abortions in. I'm a drug addict. I'm shooting heroin. I've been to New York City learning how to do everything there is to do.
And leaving your friend Mickey, I'm sorry, I had to go through that too.
Yeah.
And leaving your friend Mickey and then saying, what kind of friend and person am I to leave my young friend in New York?
Yeah, I took Mickey with me to New York.
And
was
she
18.
ends up loving
both-
heroin and ends up...
And stays.
And stays.
And I came home because I was found on the streets, walking the streets. I'd been beat up very brutally. And they found me and said, if we don't send you home, you're going to die here. So I left an 18-year-old best friend in New York City alone. So now I go home, and it's amazing, a reflection, a perception that we have of ourselves. This is why our teenagers are going through so much. Your perception, my perception was, I'm dirty, I've been abused, I've had abortions, my father doesn't love me, I'm rejected by my family. My mother beats me up. The state of New York has taken my child. I'm not a good mother. Now I left my best friend Mickey in New York City as an addict. I'm no good. So that perception of oneself sets the pace for the way you're going to live your life. So what do? You medicate more. I need more drugs. So now I began to OD. Now I began to be suicidal. I would throw myself down stairways. I would drive cars into telephone poles. I would take sharp objects and began to cut my neck with them and scratch the skin off my face because